J McLean, baby.
Right, bringing through brother Aunt Aku. Greetings, bro.
What's happening, family? How y'all doing?
Greetings. Welcome in, brother Aunt Aku. All right, kings and queens. Yes, indeed. So yeah, let me just let brother Aunt Aku introduce himself to the family and let you know who he is.
Myself. All right. Greetings to the family, the UK family. I have a lot of love for my UK family. gotKushTV. We go back like babies and pacifiers, like ODB, like I said, in hip hop. Shout out to Nkosi. Shout out to everybody who's on the show today. Fabulous presentation of group economics. I saw some health information in there, and I saw some really powerful work being done. And I want to, especially say to you guys as kind of an aspect of the African diaspora, what you're doing is very profound. That to me, the energy that I see in the UK is more of an effort to be collaborative than I see even in the conscious community in America. We have a lot of conscious people in America. We have a lot more, but we don't always find enough ways to cross those lines that Raspek was talking about, religion, whatever it is, to find ways to do what's being done here, like a group economic show. It's interesting. I don't even know if that's been done like this in the conscious community in America in recent times, at least. Probably in the 80s, 90s, we back in the golden era of consciousness. But that's a whole different story for another day. So who am I?
Yes,
that's a good question, right? You can ask the eternal question, right? I am the universe. I am that I am. And also, I'm a brother that lives in Atlanta, Georgia, who's doing my very best to uplift the Black business community here. About 5% of all Black businesses in America are in the Atlanta metro area, right? So, which is amazing. Atlanta is a beautiful place because there's a lot of positive things happening for us here. The airport is controlled by us, right? We're the only Black built, Black ran. 50% of the businesses in the airport, international airport in Atlanta, are owned by people that look like us. So, there's a lot of progressive type of things happening here economically. 60,000 Black millionaires live in the metro Atlanta area. So that's a huge, just in one city, that's really amazing. Doesn't happen like that anywhere else. So it's very unique here, and it's part of the reason I'm here. But also, I developed, I'll tell you a little bit about the story. Many years ago, I was a nightclub promoter in South Florida, right? And I was looking, as I became more conscious, I really didn't enjoy the vibes as much. Not so much, I love music and partying, but the extra stuff, the drinking, the smoking, all that, it started to not, I was moving in a more health conscious direction, etc. And so I was looking really for a path out of the marketing promotions world. And I came across, I was introduced to, as a promoter, actually, I was doing also conscious promotion, a brother by the name of Laila Africa, yeah? Dr. Africa. Yes. And I had
recently passed ancestor, now ancestor. So we're just going to say
now ancestor, that I know he's going hard on our behalf for sure. And yes, absolutely. We want to honor his spirit and the work that he's done, which was seminal in its time. Still to this day, some of the most important work on health that has been uncovered on our behalf. And so I took a course that he had on becoming a holistic health consultant, right? And so, in short, I ended up taking it 4 times. Yeah, because I just was blown away each time. It's too much to just like get it one time and leave. I have to do it again. And one of those times, an interesting thing happened when he was having a discussion about foods and the foods we eat and why most human beings do not eat food. And this is what I mean by that. Most of the things that we call food by the body would not be identified as food, right? Now, I know that's going over some people's head, but go with me. Your body does not recognize much of the things that we're putting into it that we are, happily calling food. And one of the things, so he was talking about food and healing and healers and how healers, and what he said was really profound for me, because he said, and think of it, I'm in the moment where I'm thinking about leaving the marketing world and moving into holistic health. And he said, technically speaking, we don't really need more healers. Well, this is what he said before he said that. He said that we do not eat for nutrition. We eat because we've been successfully marketed to. Right? Yes. And that brought to mind, like, I remember growing up and seeing like Snickers commercials where they say Snickers really satisfy you. Yes. And I remember being really hungry. And when I was really hungry, it was the Snickers that was like, okay, that's it. Not an apple, not a fruit salad, not a salad. None of that would have done what the Snicker could do. Thanks to the good people at the Snickers company. And they're going so hard to make sure that we understand that if you want satisfaction from food, you don't eat food, you eat a Snicker. Yes. Right? And so he said that. He said, we don't eat, we eat because we've been successfully marketed to. And in that regard, he said, technically speaking, we don't really need more healers. He said, what we need is better marketers. And I wrote that down on my piece of, and Better Marketing Mastery, which is the name of my company, was born that day, right? Which is a company that has decided and recognized what I call the healing component in marketing. That part of our work as businesses is not just about delivering the goods and services. Of course, we are doing that. But we understand that what we're doing in the process of doing that is healing our community, healing our relationships, building trust again in our community, et cetera, et cetera. So my work has been about a holistic approach to marketing. And the undercurrent now is what I call the alchemy of money, or the Kemetic viewpoint on the monetary system. So here in America, I like to show people a dollar, right? And I say, people in America, I don't know about you guys in the UK, maybe you're not like us, but in America, we take the money really seriously, right? Very, very seriously. And so interestingly enough, if I can show that there, right? If you see that on the back of that dollar, you see some symbols there, right? Mm-hmm. And those symbols come from a certain place. And this is when, if you see the early interview I did with Chakra, where I did the dastardly thing of saying that the monetary system is based on the Kemetic system. And he said, well, that's a controversial statement you're making. And I'm like, okay, let's look at the money. That's not, do you think that, when it comes to Africa, do they put Africa anywhere, right? Unless it's really, 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 really important. What's the message? If you had a French franc, right? A French currency, and you saw Chinese food on there, wouldn't you say, wait a second, why is pepper steak on the French food? That doesn't make sense. Why is shrimp fried rice? There's got to be. And yet we look at this all the time, and most people never ask the question, well, why is Kemet on the American dollar? Yeah. So I'm not going to tell you today. Right? Tune in for the next.
Right there. That's the art of marketing, right?
Yeah, tune in next week at the next Group We Economics show. Break that down. So the point is that the reason why part of my interest in Kemet, of course, just in terms of my alignment personally, is going back to Kemet, as a lot of us are. But more importantly, it actually is very relevant to the monetary issues that we face. And that's the missing link that I think a lot of people don't make. And my work is about that. And that's why we call it the alchemy of money. Because the more you understand what the monetary system is, the more you realize it is the absolute reverse of what the Kemetic system was. And the Kemetic system at one time was the dominant system on the planet Earth, right? Many, many, many nations were coming into Kemet and learning and utilizing that particular system, much in the same way as the Western system dominates the world now. And so in order to try to, there's a presentation that Tony Browder did that's called The Rebirth of Nile Valley Civilization. And what he did in it was he showed exactly how Americans, quote unquote, were trying to replicate what was happening in Kemet, right? So the whole the Civil War in America about the Southern, you guys probably heard of the South, you know, everything, the racist people are the South and the more liberal people are the North and all that. Well, Upper Kemet and Lower Kemet, yeah? It's the same principle. There's so much parallels that we can draw, that it really is really important that we understand that Kemet is everything. You really can't do anything well, even corruption, unless you borrow from Kemet.
Wow.
And so if they're really good at it, and let's just, you know.
Yes, brother, these comments, because we're bigging you up, you know, all day long. People have been just constantly posting on the comments, just full of goodness and godness today. Rise Up, gotKushTV, Umar, and what we've got here, someone's written about the Masonic symbols. I think they're talking about what you just mentioned to do with the dollar there. Up to those people still putting in donations, and we are appreciating you for that. Yes, sorry about that. Just wanted to shout out some of these comments.
I agree, sis. I was gonna say to apologize to everyone in the chat because we've kind of neglected you the last hour or so. We were trying to get through all the guests and the you know, the announcements. So we do want to make you know that we see you. Yeah, the people and we are trying to, you know, get through your comments. And once again, if you have questions for the guests, we'll try to ask them. Please tag at gotKushTV, yeah, so that we can see them. Because when you tag at gotKushTV, it highlights the comment, or leave a super chat that will highlight it also, and we'll get through to that as well. Sorry, I don't know if Naya Celebi had a question for Uncle Koo.
Yeah. So Uncle Koo, brilliant.
Yes,
and it's just a comment, really. Maybe you can build upon it. I just think you following Raspet is key because, you know, we're poets, so we understand the power of words. And when Raspet was talking about not being political or being divided over religious or spiritual beliefs, I feel like when he says forever family as an organization, that is so key to that, because there's no argument with that. No one can argue with forever family. Like, you can't argue with that. And similarly, what you were breaking down, I feel like we are learning, we're catching on. But I feel with what you're saying and perhaps with your knowledge, we can actually innovate creative ideas to market the goodness that we have. So the issue that Pan-Africans historically have is that every mickle make a muckle type thing, and it looks like that. So it's not attractive to people who are not who have not had the red pill.
Sure.
So
we're competing with a very glossy, very well done and tantalizing carrot.
Absolutely. So I contend that the only power that is actually held over us in this world is the power to be better marketers. In other words, we are one really great marketing campaign away from our complete liberation. Why do I say? Let me contextualize a lot of this, right? So if you take the book Brainwashed, if you've heard of the book Brainwashed, there's a brother here based in America, Chicago, that he was one of the first black advertisers. He would help companies advertise to black people. So he had a consultancy that was based on that. And over that, you know, he started out and he was really just helping out these corporate agencies. And then he began to figure out what was going on. And the culmination of his life work is something called Brainwashed. And what he said in that book essentially was that, and this is specific, he was talking to African Americans, but we know that really is basically the same idea pretty much wherever I go. I've been to the UK, I've been to Africa, I've been to the Caribbean. It's the same. It's, you know, it's a little different. You know, it's you know, okay, fried chicken or jerk chicken. You know, still chicken we're dealing with. You understand what I'm saying? It's still chicken. You know. So what he said in that book is Brainwashed. The point of it is that we have been victims of one of the most successful marketing campaigns on the planet. And that marketing campaign is that we are inherently inferior, right? This does not come to the level of consciousness, meaning that we're not aware of this. Yeah. But where it plays out is in our purchasing, in where we spend money. So for instance, here in America, I was saying in another presentation that let's say there's 1.3 trillion that the African American community has, right? That would make you the 16th wealthiest nation on the planet Earth, right? So people would love to have that. Let's say the Indian community that does the hair and all that kind of stuff, it takes about 100 billion of that. Now, the question is, so we spend with them indiscriminately, right? And this is anti-Kemetic, right? Because in Kemet, we know that there's a god of discrimination, yeah? Called Ampu, right? So discrimination is not only significant, it's deified, and you can't go anywhere into the level of Ma'at or enlightenment without Ampu, without discrimination. We've been taught that discrimination is a negative thing. So we become indiscriminate because we think discriminating is bad. Well, discriminating has good and bad components. It's not, right? There are times you need to discriminate, and then there are times you shouldn't, obviously. But what they've done is negated the whole thing, and now we're not discriminators at all. And because of that, we do indiscriminatory actions. And the person who is most indiscriminate is the person who will be discriminated against the most, will be the biggest victim of discrimination, right? And I would draw it out plainly, but I think you could, all you have to do is open your eyes and you can say, yeah, that's right. Right? So going back to, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, just finish this point and then, so I was talking about the Indian community and the 100 billion that they take from us. Now, if they were as indiscriminate as us, they would also take 100 billion and give back to us. But that does not happen, right? Indian people in America do not spend 100 billion with African Americans. Matter of fact, they don't spend a tenth of that, right? So if two countries were interacting with each other, one is spending 10 times what the other is spending, right? That's you call it a trade deficit. In certain terms, that would be called war, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to be telling you, listen, we're spending all this with you. If you don't cough up, get close, get in the striking range, but you can't take 10 times of what we're giving you, and then you're giving us nothing in return. Well, each ethnic group that comes to America, they say business is the fastest path to wealth. It should be a caveat unless you're Black. Because what happens is, in America, if you want to be wealthy, you come to Black people, right? So immigrant groups who have nothing set up shop. They can't speak English, right? Who needs to speak English when they're Black folks, right? So the Chinese, the Indians, the Koreans, we can go down the list, this is all of them. And over time, literally, by taking advantage of Black people, you know what happens, right? You get promoted. So they all get promoted to whiteness as a result of jumping in on the game and continuing to exploit with our brother, what's his name? Iceberg Slim, called the bottom hole, right? And if you understand that type of language, okay, I shouldn't use pimp language on such a sophisticated station as this. I know.
We get it, bro. We get it. You know what I'm saying? We understand completely. Bro, we got to wrap up with it. We got to wrap up with I do got one last question though, because you said we are one good marketing campaign away from our liberation.
Yes, sir.
Right. And I mean, somebody who mastered the art was Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And there's some significant celebration coming up where that is concerned. I don't actually want to ask you about Marcus Mosiah Garvey though. I want to ask you about,
you can save that one.
Yeah, But I want to ask you about this because I tapped into what you're saying, and it occurs to me that in the same way, there's two things that occur to me. One is this, because in one of the promises today, for Black Pound Day, as outlined by Brother Swiss and the team that he's working with, is to promote the positive, experiences with Black businesses, because we tend to promote negative and bad customer service and then kind of things there. But it occurs to me, we do it. So there's that, but then we also do the same with, like, when you say liberation, you're talking about that's Black conscious community language, but we tend to promote the negatives of the conscious community as well. Yeah, like there are so many tropes coming. So the conscious community now, in spite of all the good work that is taking place in it, becomes a talking shop. Where people just talk and they're not doing anything, right? And then kind of things there. I remember a speech from Amos Wilson where he was talking about making our ideologies become the ideal of success based upon what we produce out of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is there work that needs to be done by these black conscious people that wear dashikis and have African names like Ankaku and greet like Hotep and say things like Dua Neter and them kind of things there, in terms of how the successes or the work that is being done is marketed to the community?
That's ultimately what we're saying. What I'm saying is we are poor marketers, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not just the conscious community, by the way. That's the black business in general. So the same thing you say, we say stuff in the community about the community. Well, you get a bunch of black businesses together and who are not conscious, and it's the same thing. So it's not so much that specific to conscious people. We're all coming out of the same consciousness. Mm-hmm. What I call poverty consciousness and poor marketing. And poor marketing to me is based on two things. Number one, it's based on coming out of a poverty consciousness. And what does that mean? So the person who is coming from a worldview of scarcity, even when they market and promote, it's going to taint what they're marketing and promoting, right? So for instance, if you're, let me go mystical for a second, if that's okay. I'm going to really piss off some of my conscious brothers right now. I'm going to use the term chakras, right? That's really going to kick. Oh boy, here we go. He was talking business and making sense until he mentioned chakras. Right? So in the chakra system, they talk about it, whether it's symbolic or not. They talk about the higher chakras and the lower chakras, and so we got the root, right? So we got 7 energy points in our being, right? The bottom one is the survival. By the way, even though they say it's not scientific, when you go to Abraham Maslow, he's actually doing his hierarchy of needs is based on the chakras. Like it's got to be something to it. Why would when they take it and use it to dominate you, then you should pay attention to it at the very least. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that at the lowest level we have our survival needs, and at the top we have full let's call it divine power, right? Full autonomy, sovereignty. That's where that is. So basically what I'm saying is the cultures that we exist in now on the planet keep us in the lower energy realms, meaning that we're focused most of our time on survival. So for instance, if your predominant focus every day is how you're going to pay the bills these months, that's your predominant focus. You don't realize that there are people in the world right now that never have to think about money, right? So while, for instance, I'll give you an example, classic. Right now in America, we had 40 million people filed for unemployment, right? This record breaking and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, the billionaire class, which is 2,000 people, generated an extra 530 billion just in the COVID time. Extra. Here's the key. Now that it didn't generate 530 billion, extra, right? So what does COVID mean to them? They're like, come on, COVID. Lord.
Happy hour.
They're speaking in tongues with the COVID. They're like, bring on, right? And so it's important to understand that contrast in reality, right? That there are people, these are people who don't think about money like you do at all. They don't say, I need to survive, how I'm going to pay the bills, how I'm going to. So what happens is we're coming from the space of that poverty type consciousness without even realizing it. Most conscious people are still dealing with the reality of day to day, how I'm going to survive. Right? And it's affecting everything. It just does. That's the nature of the game that we're playing. It's designed to do that. And then the other aspect of poverty and marketing is the skill set, right? What skill set do we bring to the table? And marketing is a thing that everybody thinks they can do, and everybody can actually do well enough to create mediocre results. And in our community, that's a problem, because when we see a little bit of results, we start bigging up our chest and saying, hey, man, we do great. Now that's when we become positive. It's a beautiful future. We made $10 last year. That was great. I'm sorry, 10 pounds. I want to just translate. I know I'm speaking a foreign language.
We got to let you go, bro. Unfortunately,
no problem. It's been my pleasure, my honor. Dua to you.
Likewise.
I'm guilty of being that type of person.
Just let people know where they can find you and contact you.
BetterMarketingMastery.com is one. I also offer a special, what I call the 6-figure formula for our businesses at masteringmonetization.com. That's absolutely free, masteringmonetization.com. That's a cool bit of information. I do a lot of work on monetization, on how to monetize. And you can also catch me on LIB Radio on Thursdays. I think that's 5 o'clock UK time. And I do a show called Mastering Monetization, where we explore some aspect of how is money generated in this culture and what are all the facets that go into it. And we need to understand it as a science and not just, on a surface level. Right? No problem. Anytime.
Just post the link in that, or the information in the chat, in the actual live chat, and we'll make sure it's shared on the screen as well.
Yeah, do put all the information. What I'm gonna say is we're most definitely gonna make sure everyone can get hold of every single person that's been on, in terms of the details, so that we can all be part of the change and not just doing lip service,
Yes.
And I want to give a special shout out, if I can, to that brother with the Heru work that he's doing. I'm gonna get a copy of that right away, because that right there, he blew my mind with that. So.
Yeah, I bought one for my niece.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I bought one for my daughter as well, so we give thanks. All right. Give thanks here for your presence once again, as always, bro. I do want to say though, Uncle Ku has been behind the scenes at gotKushTV from the very inception, helping us to formulate and develop our own marketing strategies. And to the extent that we have employed them, we have seen results. And so we give thanks. We give thanks to Brother Uncle Ku, and no doubt he'll be here again. Thank you very much, Brother Uncle. Right, stay there, kings and queens.
This is Decipher, and these are our lovely panelists. African versus Caribbean versus British.
I'll say from African, but no, you're not.
Everyone's Africanness comes innately. I went to Jamaica earlier this year, and I know I'm not Jamaican. They don't look at me as Jamaican.
Yeah. I don't like people just wearing a dashiki and wearing stuff and just saying, yeah, I'm African now. That's very fake to me.
You protect people, want to claim Africa, like it's some superior, something. This being a semicircle, and you, the audience, completing the circle.